It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan. This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
What's up, NHRA fans? Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro Podcast. I'm Joe Castello, and we are following up the 65th Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. You are going to hear from the winners, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Joe, you're late. Where was the show on Tuesday? The event didn't end until Monday night at like 10:30 p.m., and I traveled back on Tuesday, and I recovered on Wednesday, and we're getting to the show now, and you're going to hear everybody. I think you're going to hear everybody. You're certainly going to hear Alan Reinhart on this edition. You're going to hear Alan Reinhart, a full event debrief, category by category. So if you love the sport of NHRA drag racing, you want to hear discussion about all classes and storylines and things that are on his mind and things that are on my mind, you're definitely going to love this one. We're going to connect with John Force later on, as in the next show you hear after this one will be John Force. 151 wins and 5 Indies and 16 championships. And John, trust me now, though, you're not going to want to miss the John Force interview. And over the U.S. Nationals, we rolled out our coverage very differently than we had in the past to go along with our 10th anniversary celebration, which is really starting now. We're in our 10th year, 10th anniversary coming up, and super excited. Got a lot of coverage, a lot of people talking about WFO, a lot of buzz out there, and I really appreciate it. Got a lot of new listeners out there. And we encourage you to listen throughout the NHRA countdown. As you know, now that the U.S. Nationals are in the books, it's playoffs time. And who's going to win and what's going to happen and the journey that will take us from this point to the Auto Club Finals at Pomona is going to be incredible. Plus, WFO goes right through the offseason. So we encourage you to stick with us and click subscribe, download the WFO Radio mobile application, all of these things. And it all happens. You know, we got Reinhart just minutes away. You're going to hear John Force. You're going to hear Doug Kalitta. You're going to hear Alex Laughlin. Like, we don't even know how it's going to roll out because it is the tail end of the week, and we're letting it sink in. It's got to sink in, right? You just won Indy, baby. But you're definitely going to hear John Force before the weekend, no doubt. But big thanks to Total Seal, the leader in ring seal technology. They got tools. They'll make custom piston rings for whatever application you are building. The best of the best use Total Seal, and you should too. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, Magic Dry, it's lightweight, it's made of coconut, it's organic. If you've got a shop, use Magic Dry. If you've got a cat, get Cat Spot, and you're supporting the same company. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. You can get licensed in Super Comp, Super Gas, all that, but if you're a listener, if you're just a fan of Nitro and you want a great experience, you can get courses at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. They go all around the country with this program, the Dragster Adventure. Check them out at frankhawley.com. Tell them you heard it on WFO Radio, as with all of our sponsors. You tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio, even if you didn't. RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs and everything good. Talking about Marvin at RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. Going to be down there in Big D, baby. Dallas, not far away. Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants. Hangstifer's Laboratory since 1937. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. All of this supporting WFO Radio, Drag Racing Edge, EV3, Drag Racing, and HusseyPerformance.net. The 65th Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals winners interviews will be rolling out over the next couple of days on WFO. We appreciate if you share them, so let's get started. Joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA and called the action from Wednesday to Monday night and almost into Tuesday. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, the Big Go 2019, what did you think?
Actually, Joe, I pretty much slept through Monday, so
you may have to fill me in. I don't remember much.
Oh,
the leaving the racetrack and taking a 10-minute nap and coming back, and so I don't really remember much of what happened. Was it a good race?
It was okay. I would say it was definitely above. If we're doing pass-fail, which is what I like to normally do, it was a pass.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
It was a pass. It was pretty good. There were some great moments. There was agony. There was ecstasy. There was good. I would go to it again if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, it was a heck of a show. The one thing that really, and it's not anybody's fault, and there's nothing you can do about it, but watching the sportsman finals play out, there was a bunch of times when I was thinking to myself, that would have been a great Parade of Champions story. And that's something that we just didn't get to do since the sportsman didn't run until late into the evening and long after the pros were done and the vast majority of the crowd had gone home. But the people that stayed, whether you were rooting because you were family or because you were at Indy and weren't going to leave until you had to leave, they put on a heck of a show, the sportsman racers did.
They absolutely did, and that was the shame. But I had some conversations with various, Lucas Oil Series racers, and there were some times where it was, you could see the frustration, the fact that we didn't run first-round stock until, what was that? Was that Monday morning? Was it Sunday morning? I don't know. It all blurs together, but I think it was Sunday morning. But we were behind from the hit. Like Wednesday, you guys didn't start until like 2 o'clock because parking was an issue, because the ground was soft from rain. And a decision was made, as I understand it. You will know better than I. And, of course, everybody, we're going to get into John Force's win and Doug Caleta, et cetera. But recapping the event from the beginning, there was weather in the area, and these giant rigs, they go in on wet soil, they get stuck, giant mess ensues. And instead, from what I understand, they decided to let it firm up a little bit before they rolled everybody in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. There was some rain, Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Monday, earlier in the week, and some pretty heavy rain that saturated the ground, and it just needed a little extra time to dry out. Everybody talked about, for the last 3 weeks, it's been, the forecast is great, the forecast is perfect, it's going to be the best Indy ever. But nobody was paying attention to Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday before the event. And then it ended up that we had some morning showers during the event also, which just kept pushing everything a little bit back. But I do applaud NHRA, and I give the racers credit, because there's a lot of times in situations like that where the easy thing to do is just go, okay, cut a qualifying session, or, all right, cut class eliminations, just give low ET the trophy, and let's move on because we got things to do. But they made the effort, even though it was many, many extra hours, to make sure that everybody got their runs. To class eliminations got actually run as class eliminations instead of just, best qualifier gets the trophy. And I applaud that decision wholeheartedly, because there's just so much more to things like class than just who had the quickest car. So it took a lot of extra effort on basically everybody's part, but the effort was put in, and like I said, everybody got their runs, everybody got to race for what they needed to race for, and I think that's the most important thing.
Totally agree. And, we'll talk about it. Stock Eliminator, H-Stock Automatic, final round, heads up. Austin Williams had to go through 2 heads-ups, and I was, down on the ground in the lanes with these guys. I took a video of it, and there's nobody in the stands. There's nobody. It's 10 o'clock at night, Monday night, Labor Day, after John Force and Doug Caleta have won the U.S. Nationals, and everybody is gone except the people who really, really care, and this is the U.S. Nationals, and it was just an unbelievable run. And to me, I know it's unfortunate for the fans that, elected to leave. They could have certainly stuck around, but I get it. They got to go to work. I get it. But it was special in its own way. Right? Frank Aragona celebrating in the winner's circle by himself with his dad. And, I saw it. It was special in its own way. It is definitely a shame we didn't get to do the Parade of Champions, though, because there were so many just unbelievable stories. But we're going to try to do a Parade of Champions here on WFO, Al. We'll try to catch up with as many of these winners as possible. We can certainly get Austin Williams. That one will be easy. Frankie Aragona definitely can happen. Megan Meyer, I'm sure it will be a piece of cake, and so people will just have to watch the WFO feed for the next couple of days.
Well, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get into it, though. Let's dive into the Mellow Yellow Series and the massive victory that is John Force's victory. And after 150 out there in Seattle, we had said It had been discussed many, many times over the course of the season. Watch John. Watch John. He's getting a lot of points. He's going to the semis. He's going down the racetrack. The car's going down the racetrack. And sure enough, John Force was a juggernaut out there. And he beat the guy who was the baddest hombre over the course of the week, Jack Beckman. Jack was quickest or second quickest in just about every session, and John Force beat him fair and square, final round, epic final round, and wins his 5th Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, and really, bookends the career, right? Talk about finishing off strong, whatever he decides to do, whenever it happens. This Indy win, massive.
Well, and he announced, I don't know if he was supposed to or not, but during the Winter Circle interview that Chevrolet had re-upped him for 3 more years and he was going to be back and everything was going to be great. If I'm a funny car racer, the thing that worries me most is that John Force now believes he can win again and that John has confidence in Brian Karate. And I think during the course of the season, we've talked about it a number of times, the number of times that he's chunked the thing out on the starting line, that he's cost the team lane choice, that he's done things that because he is John Force and he owns the team, he can do and nobody can tell him not to. But I really believe that he now knows if I do what Brian tells me to do, if I drive the car like he wants me to, then we can win races. And that's a scary thing for the other teams, I believe, because the relationship he had with Austin Coyle for all of those years certainly was contentious at times because Austin would tell him, you have to do what I'm telling you to do for us to win. I'm setting the car up to do things, and you're screwing it up. You have to do it my way. And obviously, once those two got in sync, even though they still had their moments over the years, but they did a lot of winning. And I think John now is finally convinced, if I just do it Brian's way, he'll give me a car that'll win. And that could certainly be bad news for some of the others during the countdown to the championship. Because he's fast, he's consistent, he makes a higher percentage of full runs down the racetrack than anybody else in funny car by a large margin, and he's got confidence now. He's got some swagger back. So that's a dangerous combination for the rest of the funny car class, I believe.
Nothing to lose and nothing to prove. He's John Force. He's won 16 times. He's got 150 wins. He's got 5 U.S. Nationals. This would be one for the pile. Why not go out there and get another one, right? And I am.
But in order, I'm sorry, Joe, but in order to do that, everybody has to be on the same page. If Brian sets the car up to do this, John can't just decide to do a longer burnout or back up. Or he has to drive the car the way that Brian's telling him to. He can't go out there, chunk it in 4 or 5 inches, because it pumps me up, I got to beat these kids, and give up lane choice. He's got to do what Brian tells him to do, and I really believe that now he understands I can win races, but I can't do it my way. Whatever I want to do, I've got to do what I need to do to make it happen.
And John Force, we're looking to speak with John on WFO Radio Podcast this week, and the interviews are going to roll out the way they did before the U.S. Nationals. Alan Reinhart is, you're a standalone show now, Alan. How do you feel about that?
All right, I'm good with that. It's going to turn into a contest because racers, everything's a contest, right? Who can eat your steak fastest,
right,
or who can polish your car fastest,
right,
or who can tie your shoes fastest. So the goal now is for my portion of the program to get more hits than anybody else's. And I'll grant you, I'm probably in deep against Force, but unless he runs the countdown to the championship like Torrance did last year, I like my chances of coming out on top of this deal.
I love that you have decided to make it about that. We made it about the convenience of the listeners, and you have brought up another element of it that I guess is also true. Thank you for noticing that. And then maybe the drivers will compete against each other, sharing it around there, getting the largest scope and reach of their interviews. Every once in a while we get JFR and DSR part of the same show, and it's like, now everybody's got their own thing. It's going to be very interesting. We had a lot of great coverage out there. All right, let's rapid fire some other things in funny car. First of all, Force going through Johnny, Robert Height, Hagan, and Beckman. That is a very impressive day. But on the other side of things, Ron Capps' Indy woes continue.
Well, we talk about it week in and week out. There's some guys that just have magic at a track, and there's some guys that are just snake bit at a track. And for Ron's career, Indy has just been a place where he's been snake bit. He's had some success on Sundays, back when we were doing, the Skull Showdown and the Bud Shootout and some of those other events that took place earlier in the weekend. But he's just been snake bit Monday at the U.S. Nationals, and you just keep fighting until hopefully one day the curse wears off, I guess. But I don't know what else you do.
Right, exactly, or not. Meanwhile, Ray Martin got a round win. That was interesting, and the quickest field ever in Funny Car. That was also a big deal. Not quite a 3-second field. Sean Langdon locks his way into the countdown and writes "Cruise who?" up on the board. I felt like that was. I thought that part of it was all over. Right? Nope. Note to self: don't anger Sean Langdon because he won't get over it.
Well, I can tell you the other part of that story is that when Sean lost on Monday, when they tow back to where they were pitted, they have to go by Cruz's trailer, and Cruz's guys were all standing out at the ropes clapping when they went by.
Wow. So, a couple of weeks ago, we were like, it's over, right? Nope, not over. Still going. Still simmering.
You know what? I'm okay with it. If the guys don't care for each other, or if the guys want to have a personal rivalry, if the guys want to, mouth off at each other or flip each other off, I'm good with that. I want it to mean something. There's, in my world, and we talked about it 100 times, there's nothing worse than, you just won the biggest race of your career. And you go, oh, yeah, we're really lucky to beat those guys. They're really great guys, and we really love them. And it's like, seriously? You don't care that you just beat somebody? I want them to care. And Cruz has got a solid fan base. And Kalitta Motorsports has got a solid fan base. Sean Langdon, obviously, everything he's done from juniors to Top Fuel has got a solid fan base. And if the two fan bases start taking sides now, I'm good with that. I'm 100% behind it.
Absolutely. Go for it, guys. And the clapping and the getting in each other's mind, good. Good for Sean, good for Cruz. It's interesting. We're talking about it now. So John Force, we're going to work on getting John on WFO. And he said some things in the media center, Alan, and without having experienced it yourself, and, you were off doing TV and calling a lot of action that happened after the Mellow Yellow series was over. But he was coming to grips with the moment that he had accomplished something that he really didn't think he was going to accomplish, winning Indy again, and talked a lot about missing his window for potential retirement years ago, that he maybe he should have stepped away 20 years ago, but he stayed with it because he loves it so much. And, now he's here and he's still going and it's going okay, but he doesn't really know what to do. It was a very interesting John Force interview, but all in all, it was about his love and passion for the sport and the people around him. And that the older he gets, the less he wants to beat everybody, and the more he admires and appreciates everybody around him for what they are, which I love that, and he did go out and beat everybody, but it was just very interesting to hear John Force's state of mind after this epic victory.
Well, he's certainly going through a transition now, and especially since he's been chasing 150, and that's all anybody wanted to talk about for the last year and a half, and then, okay, we got that over with, let's get on with the rest of our lives, and then it takes him 2 weeks to win another race. And so the fact that it was Indy, that it's the biggest race of the year, and that, he now ties Ace McCullough for having 5 Indy wins, it's big. It's not just another trophy to go into the collection. And I think, as I said before, I really believe that he is coming to grips with the realization that not only can I still get in the car and drive, but I can still win. And that's, he gets his mind right. That, as I said, could be scary for everybody else in the countdown.
Big message to everybody sitting on the couch, people who have been told, it's time for you to be discarded, Soylent Green. Instead, get off the couch and go get out there and do stuff. I really appreciated that, and I am looking at John Force with admiration for what he is doing. Amazing stuff. 5 Indy wins, 150 wins, 16 championships, and still going. Second in the point standings. The points, of course, are locked. Robert Hight is the points leader, loses, like 140 points to John. John Force second, 20 back. Tommy Johnson third, Jack Beckman, Ron Capps, Matt Hagan, Bob Tasca, J.R. Todd Langdon, and Wilkerson are your top 10 as we go into the countdown.
Yep, and, there's probably 6 of those that wouldn't surprise me if they made a run at the championship. And I'm not going to name names, but the ones that aren't, no, because they just haven't been getting it done on a regular basis. If you haven't been to the semis in 6 races, then you haven't shown me anything to make me believe that tomorrow you're going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden be a contender. But Robert obviously has been running good all year. Tommy is spectacular all year. John is really hot right now. Beckman's car is starting to come around right now. JR, I'm not writing him off because he started kind of far down the list last year in the countdown to the championship, and then they got hot at the right time. But I think the first couple of races obviously will tell. If somebody six through to make a move, they better show me something by the time we leave Charlotte, or by the time we leave St. Louis. Actually, if somebody better show me something by the time we leave St. Louis, because if you go through the next two races and only pick up one round win or two round wins, and you're 6, 7, 8, I just don't see anybody getting on a roll and then taking it from there. So if you want to do something, you better show me something the next couple of weeks.
So excited for it, though. The U.S. Nationals, we compare it to the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500 and the Super Bowl, and it is in many ways, but in other ways it's just very different in that it's this long marathon as opposed to those are one race over a 3 or 4 hour span. Like you're going over days and qualifying sessions over days, sportsman racing over days, people coming in, people coming out, people from all over the country stay for a day or two, leave. Just it's really hard to explain to fans out there the Indy experience, but it was just so amazing, and I'm like so happy I got to enjoy it and kind of go through this process with everybody that we did.
Something, Joe, I think that has really a lot in common with the Indy 500 and the Daytona 500. Our race is on one day, just like theirs is. But if you look at the Daytona 500, they go down there, they qualify, they have the clash, they have their shootout races. It's not just qualify on Friday, race on Sunday, and go home. And the Indy 500 has certainly cut back a little bit, but a few years ago, it was the entire month of May. You were down there absolutely in mad thrash mode for 4 weeks before you got to race day. And so the marathon that is the U.S. Nationals, I think, compares very well to the marathon that is the 500 or the marathon that is the Daytona 500, because neither one of those sports has another race that's longer, more drawn out, more track time, more opportunities to either get it right or more opportunities to screw it up before you even get into the race.
Point taken. Definitely an epic event. And hopefully all drag racing fans will go and experience Indy one time and see what it's all about. Top Fuel, Doug Caleta picks up the win. Gets that resume material that, everybody says Doug Caleta is the greatest driver who hasn't, ... won a championship, won Indy, hasn't had that great one stat for his resume. But the guy just kept on going, and he got it. He got his Indy. Who knows? Maybe the championship is next. We don't know, but I don't know if one person, and no offense to Billy Torrance, because Billy is a fantastic human being and very wonderful, but
I had him in the pool.
And well, there you go. Sorry, Alan.
But I figure Billy owes me money because he should have come through for me.
Bottom line, most of the people that bothered to tell me who they were hoping would win, just their heart was with Doug on this one because, the cosmic forces have given him a cruel end many, many times. And this time he got a happy finish, a 212 mile per hour Indy win.
And you know what? I think put him in, we were talking about Ron Capps a couple of minutes ago, and I think put him in the same category there. If Ron Capps makes it to the final round at Indy next year, except for the guy in the other lane, everybody's going to be pulling for Capps. You just want to see the guy finally accomplish something that he's been trying to do for over 20 years. There's been so many moments when Pat Dakin was in the final in Columbia or in Norwalk a few weeks back. Everybody on the property, actually including Steve Torrance a little bit because he admitted it, wanted to see Pat Dakin. We want to see this guy win, as long as it's not me he's beaten. And I think that was the same feeling. Doug got the final last year. He's against Terry McMillan last year. Terry, his hard luck story has been told 100,000 times, and for him to have that opportunity, I don't think then. I think people would have been more divided then. I think there's plenty of people that would have been going, boy, if Terry wins this, after all he's been through, it'd be awesome. But I really believe yesterday, and I agree with you, no offense to Billy, but I think yesterday everybody on the property, not named Torrance, was really going, finally, let's let Doug win this thing, and he did it.
Yes, exactly. Billy has had Billy's success has been instant and amazing. And, he's a lovable person, and the Capco team are probably 1 and 2 in terms of favorites for the countdown. They're strong and awesome and amazing in the midst of an incredible run that is at its beginning. Whereas Doug Caleta, you think about Doug and how long he's served the sport of drag racing out there as a face, as a person, as a personality. You can't help but be happy for him. And the way he did it, Doug went through Clay Millican, that round one race, 3,000 whole shot advantage on the starting line. What he is known for, identical ETs, takes out Clay Millican. Then, beats Brittany, left first, goes up against Austin Prock. Austin left on him 5,000, but he was right there, and then takes down Billy in the Coast Fest at the finish line. Just a very popular victory.
I agree 100%. I think that, he went through a little bit of everything. He went through 4 legitimate title contenders. There wasn't a duck on his pond, and he was able to get it done. But that's the whole, sometimes you got to be good. Sometimes you got to have a little good fortune. And Monday in Indy, he had what he needed at the time that he needed it to pick up that trophy. And I think, as I said, good for him. Everybody not named Torrance was certainly pulling for him.
Everything is magnified so much. I think about Jordan Vandergriff against Antron Brown. Jordan, 0.37 reaction time. The kid, everybody knows he's got talent and goes up and he shows it and just got outran. Antron comes around. Antron takes down Steve. Billy takes down Antron. Just so many interesting angles as you go through eliminations. And knowing that it's not just another race. This is everybody's hopes and dreams since they were children. And when you get knocked out, Indy is over for another year.
And, you also look at the fact that 378 was the bump, and that's the quickest in history.
Yes.
So even in the first round, and we've seen it a few times throughout the course of the year, the first round you're looking at it, and there's 3 or 4 guys that you just almost automatically pencil into the second round. If the guy's car starts, he's got a decided performance advantage over whoever is in the other lane. But that wasn't the case here. When your number 16 qualifier is TJ Zizzo, you know that you don't have any easy rounds. You better go up there every time understanding that this guy can beat me or this girl can beat me if I don't do my job and if we don't have a fast car. And that's what made it such an entertaining race. Just one thing among, the ocean of things that made it a very entertaining race.
Absolutely. Well, a lot to say about that in terms of the safety safari and the work that they did and the track prep scenario to give the crew chiefs and the fans a great show. The starting line out there at Lucas Oil Raceway was fantastic. Down track, the cars were holding, and they were able to really step on it. And I know that, over the past couple of years, there's been debate and discussion about track prep and allowing some of the smaller teams to, tune to be in the mix. But I think the proof is in the pudding right there this weekend. Quickest field ever, and people were buzzing about it, like loving it, high-fiving on the starting line. Then when that bump came down to 78, you're just looking around at people and they're saying, can you believe it? It was great.
Well, while we're handing out credit, though, I think we also need to point to the fact that the track temperature was never over 120 degrees all weekend. Most of qualifying, it was somewhere between the high 80s and 110. The weather was, I think the high for the whole weekend was 81 or 82 degrees. So, the conditions were also there that allowed something like that to happen. We were there last year and we had a couple of days when we were hovering around 95, 97 degrees of track temperature north of 130. And you're not going to get 16 cars to run 370 on a track like that. But when the conditions are there, and the safety safari absolutely deserves their credit, but they certainly got an assist from Mother Nature this week.
Yes, Ma Nature. Well, it's funny, the same Ma Nature that kind of gave us some troubles, also gave us the great weather, that the cool, consistent, overcast weather that enabled the crew chiefs to, build upon what they had done the previous day, as opposed to, all different conditions all over the place. So Steve Torrance leads the points by 20. He just lost like 660 points to Doug Kalitta second, Antron Brown third, Brittany Force, Mike Salinas, Clay Millican, Leah, Austin Prock, Richie Crampton, and Billy Torrance are the top 10. The heartbreak stories, Terry McMillan and Scott Palmer. But hey, they are still in the mix. They get a chance to go out and win races. Billy Torrance has been standout, and he's got a shot to win the championship.
Yeah, and I have a real hard time feeling sorry for somebody that didn't make it, because they've had plenty of chances to do it. And, and Billy came out, didn't run all the races. Mike Salinas didn't run all the races. Yes, they have tremendous budget. They have the ability to go out and press and do and whatever they do, and I'll give you that. But, if a guy stands at the free throw line and has 20 attempts and misses 15 of them, I have a hard time going, gee, sorry, you needed to make 8 in order to move on. They had their opportunities. And I think for Terry McMillan in particular, because Scott Palmer basically said earlier in the year, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to press. I want to win a race. If it means that, I don't get in the countdown because I smoke the tires, don't win around, I don't care. Okay. Terry McMillan, I think, does care. And Rob Wendland is certainly a smart enough guy to make that happen. And I think that this is just going to basically make them double down to try to come back next year and make sure this doesn't happen to them again, because the team is much better than the results that they showed this year.
Yes, it's so true. And the whole level of the sport. This is an example of how the level of competition across the board has also gone up. And that's what's supposed to happen. That's what you want to happen. You want it to, everybody to get better. And that's what's happening. Everybody's getting better. And, it is what it is. They're going to go out there. They still got a shot to win a race. And we'll see what happens. Okay, pro stock. Bo Butner was the number 1 qualifier. Val Smeelan makes the countdown. Great stories with the factory hot rods. But in the end, it's Alex Laughlin and Erica Enders in the final round. Erica trees him 007 to his 120, and second gear breaks. She has to short shift, gets outrun 664.8 to a 677. And I tell you right now, Alan, I still feel, as heartbroken as I can get over a racing kind of thing for Erica, because she did everything right. This is the agony of defeat moment, the couple dollar part, the added element that factors in auto racing. There are elements that you can't control, and one of those elements bit her, and she had to watch her teammate drive on by at the stripe.
Yeah, the fact that it was another elite car probably eases the sting a little bit. So, the pain level, if the pain level was 100, the fact that Alex was in the other lane, the pain level now is only 98. But the fact that she had the race won. And I thought it was interesting that, the call I made was, unless the engine falls out of that car, she's going to win. And then, holy crap, how come she didn't win? And Brian said exactly the same thing on the TV show. I heard a clip that was posted where he said exactly the same thing. Basically, this is over. It's it. Hand her the trophy. What happened? And, everybody's in shock out there. But that's why you race. Sometimes mechanical malfunctions will get you. Sometimes a bad call will get you. Sometimes a driver mistake will get you. Sometimes, and Erica had a great car. She's doing a great job driving it, and she is monumentally pissed off right now. And going into the countdown, that could be scary. It's been so long since she's in the winner's circle that it's really kind of starting to wear on her. But I really don't think that her mentality is, can I still win? I think her mentality is, I know I can still win, and I'm going to show you guys I can still win. And she right now, I think she is a very scary car going into the countdown, because she's pissed and she's on a mission.
Her lights, 13 against Richard Freeman, her boss, 18 against Greg Anderson, 10 against Jason Line, and 007 against Alex. And she got served a big negative sandwich for that day. Got to be tough, but in my brief communication with her, she's going to use it as motivation in the countdown and back-to-back final rounds. So the cars come around. She's quick. The car's quick. We don't know what the cosmos holds for each one of us, but we get to see how Erica uses this moment for positivity, hopefully. But wow, brutal. On the other hand, for Alex Laughlin, a superstar face of the sport, a kid who's got great personality, social reach, could be doing anything, right? He could be really doing anything. He ran fuel cars. He's out there doing the outlaw radial stuff. He's got many options of what he could do. Chooses to be in pro stock. We love him for that. And this is the biggest win of his career by far. And they don't ask, how did you win? They ask if you won. And he won.
Exactly. You have to be there in order to take advantage of whatever opportunity comes up. There's a lot of people when Derek Cope won the Daytona 500 say, oh, well, yeah, but if Earnhardt hadn't cut the tire down, you'd have never won the race. Like, well, you know what? He was in front of 42 other sumbitches when Earnhardt cut that tire down. So, you've got to be there to take advantage of those things. And Alex and he would tell you, he would tell you flat out when he missed the tree in the final, he didn't deserve to win that. But, sometimes the racing gods giveth, and sometimes the racing gods taketh away. So he was there, he was in position, and he got a break at a point when he needed a break. I don't fault him for that at all. Anybody that's ever done any kind of competition has been in a situation where you needed a break and you got a break. Where the guy on the other lane is just crushing your guts out, and then going into the 10th, it's like, oh well, all the guy needs is a freaking spare and 2 pins, and he beats me. And what do you mean he threw a split? You don't root for anybody to do that, but sometimes it happens. And if you're in a position to be close enough to take advantage of it, then you take advantage of it. Yeah,
and you have to go and gut all the Earnhardt fans by bringing that Derek Cope incident back up. But I think it is a great analogy. Like, I can't think of a better one off the top of my head. The fact that you pulled that out is why you start us off on WFO, because it's the same thing. Earnhardt fans might get angry about comparing Erica and Earnhardt, but I don't think so. They are both absolute ragged edge, top of their game, and the heartbreak has to be exactly the same. And Alex Laughlin, he's the one who put himself in the final round and put himself in position. Now, did you hear about his bird ride? Do you know about that?
I do not.
So out and everybody, you've seen in cities now, they've got these little electric scooter things that you can rent by the minute with a mobile app. So out in front of our hotel in downtown Indianapolis, you might have noticed them out, and there are little scooters scattered everywhere. So Alex was staying at our hotel, right? Well, one day, Alex decided, this was, I think, Friday morning maybe, he decided, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the bird scooter, max speed 20 miles an hour, maybe, probably 16. I'll take the bird scooter all the way out to the track, and it will be fun. And so he starts riding the bird scooter out to the track, and about 5 miles into it, or 10, it's 12 miles to the track, maybe not quite that much as the crow flies, but he's headed out there on this little bird scooter. The thing is geo-fenced, and it can't go any further, so it shuts off. So about 2/3 of the way there, he has to pedal the thing the rest of the way. It took him 2 hours to get from the hotel to the track. And I asked him, I was like, well, while you were on your epic journey, did you spend any time thinking about winning the U.S. Nationals? And he said, I spent time thinking about everything in my life because I was just pedaling along on this scooter. And turned out to be the winning move. Spent a little free time, like Easy Rider, out there on the highway on his bird scooter.
That's pretty funny. I'm surprised the thing didn't GPS alert. Hey, somebody's stealing me. And,
it did. It did. But, at that point, he was outside the limits, and he ended up bringing it to the track, and then they brought it back that night, which I think is hysterical.
No, I understand that it quit, but I'm saying didn't GPS that somebody's stealing me. It's like I'm leaving my boundary. Come get me. And I'm just picturing him face down in the grass with his hands cuffed behind his back or something. But I'm glad it didn't happen. I just could envision that. That would take the story to the next level.
Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe that part has been left out of the version I heard. Who knows? In Pro Stock, Bo Butner retained the points lead. And so it is a 20-point lead over Alex. I think Alex got to within 2 or a couple, but you get the points lead at the end of the regular season. You get a 20-point bonus. So it is Bo, Alex 20 back, then 10 back for everybody else. Jason Line, Greg Anderson, Erica 5th, Derek Kramer, Matt Hartford, Jeg Coughlin, Chris McGahey, and Val Smeelan. Let's talk a little bit about Val. We had Kenny Delco, and we had Fernando Quadra, and Val Smeelan. He got through the round when Matt Hartford had problems, and Val Smeelan made the countdown.
Yeah, both of them actually got loose in that first round match, and I think Matt going, you know what, save it for another day. He, save the car, don't hurt anything, don't do anything stupid. And I think Val saw that as an opportunity, and he wasn't holding back. He was skating all over the place, and he was banging gears, and he decided this is my one shot to maybe do this. So he took it, and I think, if it hadn't been the countdown on the line, I really believe that both of them would have given it up when the car started doing what they do. And then, I'm sure that Matt goes to the finish line first, but when your back's against the wall, and the old story, desperate men do desperate things. So good on him. He's guaranteed himself a spot on the stage. He'll get his lady gets to buy a new dress and come out to California at the end of the year. So it'll be fun to see.
Exactly. You got to have these stories. Matt Hartford's going to contend for a championship. That team is really good right now. And Val Smealan, like, this is the moment that is going to keep him coming back for years to come, which is great and exciting. Pro Stock Motorcycle, Angel, number 1 qualifier, red lights first round, another heartbreak moment. 4th out early against Joey Gladstone, had him covered by a tenth and a half. In the end, though, it's Jerry Savoie, former winner, against Andrew Hines. And Andrew, I guess, backed out. I talked to some racers, and they said that, sometimes, and even Andrew, as winningest driver ever, as they go into their stance, sometimes the bike will move ever so slightly, and that's what I understand happened.
I didn't talk to Andrew afterwards, so this is purely speculation.
Yes, I haven't either. Go ahead, speculate.
Andrew is a very deep thinker. He looks at every possibility, everything, and understands the game probably to a level that nobody else does. He's playing multi-level chess where a lot of people are playing tiddlywinks. And my thought is, going into the final, he knows he's going to be pumped up. He knows, and he's going to go in as shallow as possible to ensure that he doesn't go red, give himself a little extra insurance. He also knows that Jerry's got a quicker bike than he does because Jerry had the best bike out there all day. And my feeling is that he was trying to go in so shallow that exactly what you said, it just rocked back. That's the call I made on the PA. That's the same call that Brian made on the television show watching the replays. But Jerry had the best bike. And I texted back and forth with Tim Kalungi, and the way the schedule went, I didn't get to speak to anybody in the winner's circle or down on the racetrack or anything after it happened. But I'd love to know either what they found, what they did, something. Because the bike that Jerry was riding this weekend didn't bear a whole lot of resemblance to the one that he's been on all year long. So something is different. Either they discovered something or they changed something or they got a new something. But holy smokes, was that thing fast. You mentioned Angel was number 1 qualifier, but on race day, Jerry had the field covered 300 or 400 pretty much every round.
Yes, the Matt Smiths of the world, like everybody. It's incredible. And I had heard, Jerry had said they had been working on something with Vance and Hines, and that Vance and Hines is obviously a part of it because they build the power there. But the consistency, 84.7 against Ryan Ayler, 84.7 against Joey Gladstone, 86.4 against Eddie Krawick, and 85.1 in the final. Like, they were, you said it, 400ths quicker than anybody else, and on rails, or rail. Since it's a bike. And I think that's great. I think, the class needs it. There hasn't been a Suzuki in the winner's circle for a year. And there are a lot of Suzuki campaigners out there, and there are a lot of them that are spending their money to do this. And I think that they need to know that, we can be competitive. We're not just going to come out and get run over by the V-Twins every week. And I think that's a big part of what Vance and Hines is working on, too, because Terry Vance, and I talk to Terry Vance on a really regular basis, he is a big picture guy. In the grand scheme of things, Harley Davidson pays them to go out and win races. If they win every race, they're doing what Harley pays them to do. That's not good for Pro Stock Motorcycle. You need to have, Warren Johnson was a guy too. Warren Johnson was one of the biggest advocates for the Dodgers when he was racing because he understands we have to have somebody to beat. For me to go to General Motors and say, hey, we need more budget, we need more R&D, we need more parts, if we don't have somebody to compete against, if General Motors looks out there and goes, well, we got every car in the field, what do we need to spend any more money for? And Terry Vance gets that. The whole Vance and Hines team get that. And they have been, my understanding, they have been putting some effort into trying to get the Suzukis up a little bit further in the performance realm where they need to be. And if whatever it was, Jerry beat him over the head with it this past weekend. If the bike runs like that in the countdown to the championship, it's going to be an interesting one. Absolutely. Andrew Hines goes in leading the points. Eddie second, 20 points back. Then it's Matt Smith, Hector Aragona Jr., Jerry fifth, Karen Stouffer, Angie Smith, Angel, Ryan Ayler, and Hector Arana. Another knockdown, drag-out battle. It's going to be good and very interesting to watch. Jerry, the Harleys, Matt Smith, probably the favorites right now. But Angel, the way that bike was running, I'm not counting her out because she's mad too.
You're right. But, the difference between Angel and Erica is Erica did everything right and her equipment let her down. And Angel had the premium equipment, and she's the one that made the mistake. And I absolutely believe that she can bounce back from this, but you've been out there long enough to know, and I've known her for years, she beats herself up pretty bad over stuff like that. She takes that stuff personally, and she definitely needs to find a way to turn it into motivation, because she certainly had the best motorcycle that she had all year, and, you know, a red light that really didn't need to be. You know, you're in a position where you don't have to press. So hopefully she'll be able to turn that into a motivating factor, and, you know, we don't have to wait long to find out, because the motorcycles are at every race from here on out.
Speaking of which, E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified, Ricky Smith, Mike Castellano final round, and Frank Manzo is able to tune to another Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals victory. So we had a blower car and a nitrous car in the final. Stevie Fast, round one red light against Todd Tutterow. That one, though, if he was trip zero, he would have lost. So, you know, that's one that you just chalk up like, hey, what am I going to do? But in the end, Castellano left first against Ricky in a whole shot victory. Ricky Smith, number one qualifier, quickest car all weekend. The nitrous cars. Did this rules change? Are they back? Ricky somehow got quicker. What do you think's going on here in E3 Spark Plugs Pro Mod?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think, you know, obviously with the rules change, the blower cars and the turbo cars were going to slow down a little bit. But I also think that, you know, Ricky's a really smart guy and a really savvy guy. So the couple of times that he brought his nitrous car out, I'm not sure he was putting all of his cards on the table, because I think, you know, a lot of people knew that there was going to be some type of an adjustment, something coming. And, you know, you don't want to go out there, you don't want to go out there and shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak. So once the rule changes are made, you know, Ricky shows up with his nitrous car, and now it's like, okay, look how fast I can be. And again, conditions were favorable. You know, if we get to St. Louis or someplace and it's 90, 95 degrees, I don't know that the nitrous cars are going to be what Ricky was there, but they definitely were favorable conditions for a nitrous car, and Ricky took full advantage of it all the way until the final, and Castellano got him on a whole shot.
And Frank Manzo wins another Indy, and driving and tuning, it's like, I don't know, in the teens or something.
Yeah, he's had some success there, no question about it.
Yes, exactly.
No, I just think, and you know, this is kind of like a Lewis Bloom thing, and Lewis and I have known each other a long time. There's no other crew chief that would get as much credit as Frank does, and Frank's doing a nice job with the car, there's no question about it, but Frank didn't win that race. Mike Castellano did. They had the slowest car. Mike Castellano went up and won the race. And, you know, nobody says, well, Alan Johnson's won the race this many times between alcohol and fuel and people he's helped and all this stuff. I love Frank, but I think sometimes Lewis goes a little over the edge with that. Interesting angle.
Other winners, Megan Meyer breaks through in Top Alcohol Dragster and beats, as we've been talking about, right? You want to run the people that you want to compete in the points against Troy Coughlin in the final round. Troy goes red, Megan wins the race and puts herself in good points position as Sean Cowie goes out first round. So big win for Megan Meyer. Jay Payne in Top Alcohol Funny Car takes down Chris Marshall. Back-to-back final round and runner-up for Chris Marshall. I feel like he's got to feel a lot better about this one because he just got beat by 3,000 in what was a very good race.
I don't think so. I think that's even more gut-wrenching. You know, the we broke apart is bad, but we did everything right, and this guy beat us by that much. And for Chris Marshall, you know, he's not been to 5 final rounds. Every place other than Indy, he's undefeated in the final, and in Indy, he's 0 for 2. And I also thought it was, you know, I'm kind of a numbers guy and balance guy. You know, Chris Marshall loses at the finish line by 0.003 of a second. Troy Coughlin loses at the starting line by 0.003 of a second. Like, who makes that up? You know, who decides the universe? Okay, here's what we're going to do. But you know, good for Jay. He had a good car. He drove well. But I think everybody in the stadium figured that Chris Marshall was finally going to get redemption for what happened to him last year, and he came out on the wrong side of it. And I think that's got to hurt just as bad, or if not worse, than last year.
Well, the racing gods you referenced earlier are really testing the guy, or they really want to make sure he comes back again next year. Because, you know, you can't not come back now. You have to come back. You can't let that happen to you and just go off and just do something else. You can't. Or maybe you can. I don't know. But I don't think his friends and sponsors and people around him are gonna let it happen. Frank Aragona Jr., Comp Eliminator, first Indy win. He was pumped, to say the least, him and his dad down there in the winner's circle.
Well, he should be. I mean, the first Indy win is great, but Indy being a 64-car field instead of 32, there's an extra round in there. So when you win that race, that's 105 points that go into your account, and he took over the national point lead now. So, still a lot of racing left to go, but that was a huge thing for him if he wants to keep the number one for next year, putting himself back in the driver's seat in the national points race.
Tyler Castle, Super Stock.
Yep, first win, first final round. It was the story that came out later. 50 years ago, his grandfather came to Indy for the first time, and then his grandfather passed in an accident before Tyler was born. But the story was that just kind of a fluke. A couple of guys went, "Hey, we're not doing anything. We got the grade points. We can get in. Let's load up and go," and ended up winning class. And then also winning Super Stock. So great Cinderella story. And, of course, Dave Dux Jr. that he beat, second-generation racer whose dad has had a ton of success over the years.
The Stock Eliminator final round, H-Stock automatic heads up between Matt Antrobius and Austin Williams. I was down there in the lanes. Austin wins a heads up. So back-to-back heads ups to go through the semis and the final round. But I did a video. It's been shared like 300 times or something, thousands and thousands of people watching it. Nobody in the stands. It's pitch black. It's just, racers. Like the outlaw racing scene atmosphere, except with two extremely high-level Stock Eliminator cars on the biggest stage for drag racing on the planet. It was epic. And Austin Williams goes trip zero to win the race.
And, Matt had him covered, and Austin knew it, and Austin was certainly concerned about it. When he ran Eddie Brooks in the semi, Austin had the quicker car there. So that's a situation where you go up, don't make a mistake. Eddie's car, I don't think anybody expected that Eddie could pick his car up 2/10 or 3/10 and win that race. So that wasn't one that they were very worried about. But going into the final, Matt Antrobius has been a solid 10th better than Austin all weekend long. And I couldn't see from my vantage point. I mean, it didn't look like it spun. It didn't look like it did anything like that, but it certainly didn't run to its potential. And with Austin getting the starting line advantage by a little over a tenth, the lights were 000 to 111. And, he was able to hold on for the win, even though it definitely looked like Austin's car was down on speed a little bit in the top end. So I don't know how much longer he would have been out in front if they had kept their feet on the floor, but he only had to be there 1,320 feet, and he was.
They pulled all the oil out of it. They chilled it down, and they said they were going to hang the rods out of it if they had to. Just a really cool moment. Lynn Ellison, former top dragster world champ, goes out there and wins Super Comp in a borrowed car. Nathan Vrooman wins Super Gas. Larry DeMars has now won back-to-back events in Racing RV's Top Sportsman. And Rusty Baxter becomes the first ever top dragster winner out there at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. And what was the quickest field ever by a lot?
Yeah, a couple of notes on all of your drivers. Nathan Vrooman, he's only entered 2 national events this year, and he's won them both. Huh. He won Chicago earlier this year. That's the only other national he's been to. Now, he really hasn't done much on the regional trail, so as far as, making a run for the championship. But on the nationals so far this year, he's undefeated. And it was Lynn Ellison's first win in Super Comp, which makes him a 4-class winner now. He's also previously won in Super Gas, Super Stock, and Top Dragster. He won Indy, as a matter of fact, in Super Stock back in 2002, so that was a pretty special one for him. Rusty Baxter, we mentioned earlier, his first win. Fortunately for him, he, kind of went through a little bit of a duck pond, and, the guy in the final nobody ever heard of, so.
Yeah, part-time racing.
Get away with that. But it's like, what do you think the guy's got to be thinking? Obviously, you have confidence in your car, you have confidence in your abilities, but he pulls into his first ever final round. Pete Biondo was his 78th final round, and he won 54 of them. But it literally came down to inches. They're 1 thou apart on the tree, and I believe 4 or 5 thou apart at the stripe. And on the double breakout, Rusty gets it done. And the Top Sportsman, the Larry DeMars story, my favorite part about that, he didn't qualify, right?
Yes. He's an alternate.
Yeah. Yeah, came to Indy, came up short, didn't qualify. Somebody broke, he got in the field and left with a trophy.
Amazing. And, back-to-back wins, he and his son, Jeremy. I speak with them on a pretty regular basis. And just over the moon, super excited. Randall Andrus wins Top Fuel Harley, but Ty Tharp becomes the champion as Doug Vansel goes out early. And Bill Skillman wins Factory Stock Showdown, and Jimmy Daniels wins the Dodge Hemi Challenge for the 4th year in a row. Let's talk Factory Stock Showdown. Has parity been achieved, Alan?
They're certainly closer now. Bill Skillman with the win is now second in points in the national standings behind his kid. So, that's got to make people happy in the Skillman family, no question about it. And of course, this is their home racetrack. Definitely looked like the changes that were made the Dodgers much more competitive. Mark Powell being the number one qualifier, and Alan Johnson won a couple of rounds. Leah's car looked like it was strong as well. So I think that NHRA's move certainly brought the cars considerably closer, and that's what they were looking to do.
There you go. And what about Ty Tharp, back-to-back champ, and Mickey Thompson, Top Fuel Harley?
I'm thrilled for Ty, and those guys put on a heck of a show, but I think the absolute ultimate highlight of the weekend for Top Fuel Harley this weekend was Bo Lane being at the track, being in the tower, and sharing the stories about what happened out in Seattle, what he's been through, the fact that he's absolutely coming back. And I just, I'm a big believer that I can tell the fans 1,000 times, hey, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But when the man himself comes to Indy to spectate, comes up in the tower and spend a lot of time with us, educating everybody a little bit on the category and saying, I'm going to be back. Just hang on. I'm in rehab. I'm going through what I got to do. But I really thought that was the highlight because, you watch somebody go through something like what he did up in Seattle and everybody cringes. And when he stood up, it was, just a Terminator moment. But for him to come back and go, and I really didn't know Bo very well, but really smart guy, really sharp guy, really nice guy, and really firmly devoted to getting back on his Nitro Harley.
If that's the highlight, where does Mike Scott's 1,320-foot wheelie rank?
Second.
That was crazy. I couldn't quite grasp. He was like, we got to see that again. And you had mentioned it. I think he crossed the finish line with his rear tire, and that's exactly what had happened.
Yeah, it was on a hell of a run. You hate to see somebody do that and lose, but I haven't seen Lewis's Fast Five yet, but I hope it made the Fast Five.
There you go. And there it is. We have recapped the 65th Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals with the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who will be calling the action not this weekend, next weekend in Reading, Pennsylvania, but this weekend he'll be calling some action somewhere. Where are you going to be, Alan?
I am headed to Epping. I'm going up to Epping, New Hampshire for the Division I regional event, and then just going straight from there to Reading. So looking forward to it. The more time I'm on the road, the more time that the more deposit slips I get to fill out. So I'm always happy to get on an airplane. There
you have it. Alan, great job. It was a fun week in Indy, and now on to the countdown. Thank you so much.
All right, Joe. Take care, travel safe, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Alan Reinhart headed to Epping. Alan gets on a plane, baby. He gets on a plane. I am not getting on a plane until next week. I am taking care of business here in sunny South Florida, getting ready for the, we had a hurricane coming, man. And it is very fortunate that it did not hit South Florida or Florida for the most part, but it is now hitting the Carolinas, and it is terrible, and it's very sad. On our Ignition show, which is high-level entertainment for most people, we talked all about it. The psychological torment that is the hurricane sitting off the coast, and what happened to the Bahamas. Just horrible. And there are all kinds of different natural disasters, but I don't want to say hurricane is the worst because they're all horrible in their own way. But hurricane is a psychological mind bender because you have so much time to think. Should I stay? Should I go? Is it coming? How bad will it be? What will happen? What's going to happen? Is my homeowner's insurance going to go up? Will I have a home? Is my roof going to blow off? From the monstrous to the minute, it all enters your mind. Do I have water? Did I get gas? What about my friends and family? What should I do with the dogs? I don't have dogs. My friends have told me you were very lucky to be up there in Indy. And maybe I was. But at the same time, it was challenging to go through the process knowing that at any moment we could be hit. Fortunately, it did not hit us. And as I said over the course of the weekend, the hurricane rooting is a zero-sum game. When you're rooting for it to not hit you, you're kind of rooting for it to hit someone else. Like in a perfect world, it would just go out to sea and not affect anyone. but that is rare. My thoughts going out to everybody in North and South Carolina. Like, guys, batten down the hatches. By the time you hear this, you're going to be right in the middle of it. Charge those batteries. Make sure you have gasoline. Don't go outside when they tell you not to go outside. And this is becoming a part of the U.S. Nationals. Hurricane. It's like 2 out of the last 3 years. There's been a hurricane coming right around Indy time. All in all, it was fantastic. I will be, like, why should you listen to the interview, post-interview? Because during this part, I will be rolling out my stories. The My Time segment will continue in the new system that is WFO. The next interview you're going to hear will be John Force. And the next interview you're going to hear will blow your mind. Because Force lays it all out there. Now, I know we've had some really great John Force interviews over the years. But this one, he's won 2 out of the last 3 races. He got the 150 monkey off his back. Now he's got a big bonus. He won Indy. And more importantly, he got a legit shot to win the championship. We're going to speak with John about that. Hopefully you check it out. Click subscribe. Don't miss a show. Don't miss anything. Go WFO. WFO at the big go. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Big thanks to Drag Illustrated for the great coverage and everybody behind the scenes who made all of this stuff happen. Check out that story. Good stuff on Drag Illustrated about WFO and our 10-year anniversary. Had such a great time up there at Indy. I keep saying it over and over again because it is true. We'll see you next time on WFO Radio and NHRA Nitro.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com. Your education. What are you going to do with your life? That is what it's all about. And samtech.edu can help you figure it all out. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology always says start your education at full speed because they will get you in, get you started, get you learning rapidly. The school is located in the Houston, Texas area. They've got a great campus. They're always expanding. But most importantly, their relationships within the performance industry is what sets them apart. We're talking about block programs, head programs, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning, all part of Samtech. They can even help persons that are eligible under the GI Bill. Go to the website, samtech.edu, or call 713-683-3817. Would you rather do something you love as your job? I know I would. samtech.edu.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
This is WFO Radio.